All right, hello everybody. It's unimaginably frustrating to try to master all of these different geographical information systems and data display visualization technologies uh, when they all are changing constantly, and there's so much to keep in mind. Now, fortunately, we do have ChatGPT as an ally to help troubleshoot. So that is great. And I want to show you, we're trying to get a decent digital elevation map from Allos Pulsar, which is supposed to be at 12.5 meters. So we're trying to get that into the map so we can do a decent elevation model in Blender, then bring into Roblox so we can do an interactive thing. So spatial resolution apparently is 10 meters, which would be really cool. Allos Pulsar. So I'm not sure if we're able to get it. It's called fine resolution, and then there's a 20 meter, and of course there's a 30 meter polarimetric. And we want to get the fine resolution if we can, so we need to figure that out. And the way I'm going to do that is by finding the right polygon for Morocco, but I want to make sure that I'm using the one that is based on the area where we're going to be building our model, which is the cemetery here in Akrich near Thomasloot. And so in mine GIS map of this, if I go to the cemetery feature, you can see that my projection down here is a user one of 100,000, what I call the high atlas projection. And it's really messed up. It's not going to help me get something from the website of the search.asf.alaska data search vertex thing. But it does give you the ability to search for a geospatial file, a drag and drop. I thought originally that I could go to Google Maps and find it, because this comes in under the name Akrich, and then when you do Akrich, there's the cemetery, and if I just grab these coordinates, I thought that that would work. The problem is that if you do that and then search, it doesn't take you anywhere. And if you come in here and search for the location this way, then it takes us way down to Tanzania. So that's not working. And part of it is that these are apparently flipped around. That is what ChatGPT was telling me, that Google Maps uses latitude, longitude, whereas QGIS uses longitude, latitude. So in this long discussion, the first thing that it suggested that we do is to change the point around like this so that it's -8 as the longitude first and then the latitude. So if I grab that, I don't want to be in Tanzania, and I drop that in and then hit update, then it still takes us to Tanzania. So yikes. Oh no, it didn't even reverse that. So maybe we have to get rid of that. So clear that out of the memory and then search for this location that way, backwards. And it searches and searches and searches. And where does it take us? I don't even know where it's taking us. Looking at the map, it took us to the middle of the ocean. Yay. So that obviously isn't working. And when you go to search for location, if you try to do Akrich, it's not in the database. There's Mauritania, there's Germany. There's nothing for that. You can find Thomasloot. That does come up. Oops, didn't ask for that. Let me clear that. Let's try Thomasloot. Thomasloot. There it is, America Safia. Right, we've found it. So there's Thomas Lute, and Thomas Lute is up from Akrich, but Akrich, which is down near Animir, isn't easy to see. So you'd be like, okay, I can't necessarily find that. Now it did give a point close. Thomas Lute has a point, and QGIS did tell me, I'm sorry, QGIS, that we should use the word point. So I copy this code and go back into here, and let's open this up and let's clear that, and let's put in point instead, and then update. And it says refresh search. And that kind of looks like it did it, near Animir. All right, so that wasn't working before, but it is working now, and it does give me something to work with. But let's verify that that is the right point, because you can't really zoom in to make sure that that is the cemetery down there. So I'm in QGIS here, and I actually have the cemetery. I've got all these features in here, and zoom to layer. But this feature here is in a different projection, user 1000 projection. Let me just turn on, by the way, to see if Animir is nearby. I'm going to go to Web Quick Map Services and put in a Google Hybrid Map. And let's turn this one off and turn that on and see just how close it is to Animir, which is down. It's all turned out to be in Arabic now, which is great. But so there's Animir down here, and there's the point. So that does look promising. It looks close. As you can see, there's Animir down here, and then there it is up on that mountain ridge over there. So that's promising. There's our putt on that ridge. So that is probably what it is. But what we can do to make it more exact is let's now go and zoom to that layer. Oops. And the reason that happens is because the scale is off. Go to scale 1 to 1000 and then zoom to the layer. So now, there it is. And then what you can do is create a shape file. And I've done that, but I'm going to delete this so I show you how I did that. So remove that layer. So you've got the point there, and that is a shape file, but you want to make it into a shape file in the right projection. So you right click and you say export saved feature as, and now you want to project in 4326 WGS84 because that is what the ASF website reads. So we will call the file name cemetery shape for ASF and give it a folder where we can find it. And that's all we need to do, and we can add it to the map. So we are overwriting the other file. Okay, so now there it is. You can see that dot going in and on. That shape file is now in a folder for us to go to here and click on more options and do an import file. And from here, go to the cemetery shape that we just exported. Invalid. Well, that's not right. Let me clear this. Try it again. Oh, it needs to be a shape file, not an OpenOffice file. It gives you a bunch of files, but the one that just came in is this one, the SHP. That's the one we want. There we go. And now that point is there, and we know that that is, even though we can't zoom in any further, we know that that's what we want. And so then when you start drawing your box around it, then you can update, and we should be able to get, these different files here. So there they are. Now, for which one is the correct one, there's a level 1.1 image, a level 2.2 image, and there is a lot of other type of imagery that is available to us. We need to know which one is the 12.5 or 10 meter band. So to find that out, I'm going to turn to ChatGPT, our great ally who I've been dialoguing with, and say, copy this picture and go to chat and say, hi chat, seems to be working now with ASF. How do I know which image DEM is 12.5 meter or 10 meter? I can't seem to see that information on the screen. Here is a screenshot, and then paste that in, and upload that. Something went wrong. Yep, let's try it again. See what chat says. Okay, determine that I need to check the following details. Look for Alice Pulsar. Whoa. Okay, it's got a lot of stuff. All right, so Alice Pulsar is often known for specific resolutions. Alice Pulsar RTC, radiometrically terrain corrected products typically come in resolutions of 12.5 meters or 30. Level 1.1 or 2.2 may be necessary to refer to the documentation or product sheet. If you can't find this, you can reach out to ASF. Check if ASF Vertex offers the Copernicus DEM or SRTM, which are commonly used. Check if ASF Vertex offers Copernicus. All right. But Alice Pulsar, okay, so I don't really know. When you click on this, it doesn't tell us, does it, about it. When we click on this, it doesn't tell us. When you click on this, it doesn't tell us. When you click on this, it doesn't tell us. Yet everybody says that we should be using Alice Pulsar. We sampled high res, terrain corrected. This one just has level 1, level 2. All right. So this is time to then ask. So here I have a guy who's downloading 12.5 meter ones, and what does he say to use?
For example, you can highlight your area of interest using a rectangle like this.
Let's go a little faster.
After you do that, you can simply go here and click search. Now you will see that you're presented with all the available different types of products. Over here you actually get a list. Over here you can see the number of the total number of scenes that you have, and when you click in each of these options, you can see actually this red color rectangle also moves. So for example, if I click on the first option, you can see that this file is corresponding to this particular option. And if I click on the second option, you can see that the red color rectangle actually moves. So similarly, you can just scroll down if you would like to check the other types of available data options as well. And when you click on each of these options, just make sure that under the available files, you have this high resolution terrain corrected option, because this is the particular option that we would want to download. Now over here, for this selected scene, you can see the corresponding information over here. And as you can see that this has been captured in year 2008. So you can even click over here just to get a zoomed in image. And out of these different file options, what you need to click on is this high resolution terrain corrected option. And directly download it from here. And now you can see that you are presented with this Earth Data login page. So if you haven't created an account with Earth Data.
So it's time to look at high resolution terrain corrected in here, and so for us there is no maybe this is the only one that has high resolution terrain corrected. As you can see, these things change. So if that's the one, field ID. That's the one there. And I'm not sure about the false color image, but this is the one that contains a high resolution terrain corrected, and I'm not sure which one is which. Maybe this is, oh, that's level 1. 2 files, 2 files. So it's this one here. We'll just go for what he says. We'll go for this, and we'll download the 337 megabyte one. And we will bring it in. It's going to take a while, I guess. APRT1. I brought in the others the other day, but this one here is the one we need for today. So while that is downloading, we'll watch the rest of the tutorial, see what it has to say, see if that's valuable. Because I've already got the login.
It's best to do that right now. You can actually do that quite easily using this register option. So I'm not going to take time because I have already created my profile. So once you have created your profile, you can actually enter your username and also your password. And once you have done that, you can just simply click login over here. And then over here, you get the option to save your file. So I'm just going to save that file. And once you have downloaded, you can see that we have a downloaded file in the format of a zip file. So I'm just going to extract the file directly into my folder. All right, now you can see that inside this folder, you can find a couple of, you can find a few files. And out of these, this .dem is actually the file that you want to use. So you can simply use your GIS software. In my case, I'm using ArcGIS. So I'm just going to open ArcMap. And I can just directly drag this one and drop it over here. Alright, now you can see that we successfully downloaded the DEM. If you would like to change the color scheme, you can even do that by just clicking over here. Probably you can invert the color scheme. And if you would like to access further information regarding this downloaded DEM, you can actually go to the properties. And if you go to source, over here you can see the cell size is been specified to be 12.5 meters by 12.5 meters, along with the coordinate system information. Now you can see that this is actually already in a projected coordinate system. So even if you would want to measure the size of a pixel, you can even do that by yourself. You can just simply zoom in like this, until you probably start seeing different pixels, and then you can actually just go to the measuring tool and you can simply measure the distance over here, and you can see that it's approximately 12.5 meters. So that further validates that the resolution of our downloaded DEM is about 12.5 meters. So that concludes the tutorial for today. If you would like to see more GIS and
that's really good. Okay, so we're almost done downloading, but that means that yeah, you should be able to do this in QGIS as well. My only concern is that my projection is user 100,000, and I might have to create another map for WGS 844326, because when I try to reproject this, it just disappears. Everything gets really messed up. But we are on to something now, but we're still not fully downloaded, so let us put you on pause for a moment. All right, it finally downloaded, so we will go to our folder and we will show it in the folder. I like to cut it out of the downloads and bring it to my, not my shape file, but to my data. So boundary maps and other data. So I'll bring it into here and paste it and replace the file. Did I have one already that was called that? Okay, maybe I did. I'll replace it. And then this file folder here, which just came in now, I'm going to, it looks like I did have one. Look at that. I had it from yesterday, I guess. But I'm going to delete that one. Make sure that I'm using the one that I just brought in. So this is the one that just came in today. And I'm going to extract it all right here. And having that in there, it looks like the one that he said is to use the RTI DEM. So it looks pretty dark, but we will try it, because the others are, well, there's an RTM JPEG aux XML. There's a geo, there's a map, there's an XML. So that really seems like that's the one that we need to use. So coming into here to GIS, let me get rid of this, remove that, because I think this other one that I have, which has these mountains, If we go to the properties, then we should see no data information. This one is how big? Coordinate system accuracy. 2 meters. It doesn't really tell us. So I'm going to look for a second at that video. He was saying, showing us a way to check.
You have downloaded that software. In my case, if you would like to change the color scheme, you can even do that by just clicking over here. Probably you can
He's using art.
Over here, you can see the cell size is been specified to be false. Over here, you can see the cell size is
cell size is what we need to be able to see in this. And when we go to properties here for this previous one, is there a cell size? Source. I don't see cell size. Cell size, pixel size is there. Maybe that's it. Pixel is 0.20027. Is that what we mean by pixel cell size? So let me rely again on this and say, hey chat, QGIS properties tells me pixel size. In ArcGIS, properties tell us cell size. How would you interpret this pixel size? And let's see, that should be, that looks more like 30 meters actually, because it's 0.00027 degrees. So it's 30 meter. It's a 30 meter, right? So that was the 30 meter resolution for the earlier DEM that I brought in. So I can turn that DEM off. There's our point there. Where was it? Let me zoom again to feature. Zoom layer. And where did it go? There it is. It's right there. Right? That's Akrich Cemetery. Right there. All right. And then bring in now our new layer, which is a add layer, add a raster layer, and then find this in the boundary maps and data. We have this folder that we brought in, and this is the DEM that we want to bring in. So we're going to add it, and it shows up. Now, is that any better than the one that we had covered it with? So that is the one we were using that was the 30 meter. Here's our new one. I'm actually going to put that up on top. That's the RTI, or the resolution, higher resolution one. And so when we go to properties, we see that the cell size is pixel size 12.5. Never seen that before. The other one was 0.000 something. It's weird. So if you look at this one here, because that should be proof positive that it's 12.5 meters, but when we did this one here, pixel size was 0.0002. That's odd, right? Like, why is that? So I'm going to ask chat if chat knows. Not that chat knows everything, because chat will fantasize, but we want to know here. Okay. So I'll go back to chat. Oops, where's chat? Chat is Chat is somewhere else. Where's chat? Oh, it was launched. Okay, there we go. Okay, so that was the original SRTM, or Shuttle Radar Topography Mission 30-meter data. Now I bring in the, what is it called, pulsar, or it is called ALOS pulsar. The ALOS pulsar, and I get this. It says 12.5. Why is it using 12.5 somethings and not the decimal that you saw in the earlier properties? And we see that it says, this new screenshot shown at times using the meters of the unit. That's why you see the difference. SRTM data in decimal degrees. The Shuttle Radar Topography Mission was a geographic coordinate system, measured pixel size in degrees, hence you saw the decimal. And that converts to 30 meters. ALS Pulsar DM is important in projected system, indicated by 32629. It's measured in meters, not degrees. It's 12.5 meters. All right. Measures in degrees, projected, measures in meters. And so this will be better. I'm pretty pleased about that. The guy also said, as you recall, and I'll turn this one on, this one off. Right? So he said that you could zoom all the way in until you start seeing the pixels, and then you could measure them. But I can't. Yeah, I don't really. Maybe there's. Yeah, it's hard to see the pixels in here, and then use the measure tool. So just trust that this is the right one. All right, then what I'm going to try to do now, if I can, is I'm going to come here to this data. I need to know where my place is. In fact, this is where I zoom in on here, but I do it at a much higher resolution. I'll go to 1 to 1000. There we are. Then turn this on. It just appears black. But then I'm going to go to right-click on. No, I'm going to go to Project, Export, Map to Image. Use the canvas extent. Bring the resolution. Maybe it's okay. 1 to 1000. Output width, output height. And I'm going to save this as my shapefile exports. I'm going to save this as the AOS Pulsar Cemetery DEM, and do that. Then I'm going to turn that off, and I want to get rid of all the information there, so I'm not going to use the hybrid. I'm just going to use the Google, and I'm not going to keep that pink point in there because that distorted. I can keep the same setting and now project and say this map, same map extent, is coming out as the AOL Pulsar Cemetery satellite. And I should keep in mind it's a Google satellite in case I was wondering later on. And now I click on that. I hope I saved it to the right place. Sometimes always check is what we're going to say. So it was in, yeah, shapefile exports. All right, so now I've exported that, and it's time to open up Blender. We're going to try a new technique today where we're going to project this hopefully as a displacement modifier onto a cube. And by doing that, we should be able to place it in Roblox better. So I am here and I have a cube, and I guess sometimes they say just get rid of that cube and add a new one. I don't know why, but some people do that. And then I'm going to scale this cube, but I wouldn't know how to scale the cube, would I? Here's where we could use Blender's OSM, because we could select, no, let's not do that. Let's be smart about this. Let's not use Blender OSM. You go away. Hit the N key. Use GIS, Blender GIS, and import the georeferenced raster, which is the one that I just exported, called Cemetery Satellite. And there it is. All right. That raster has been implemented. And so the cube needs to be scaled up to the size of that raster. Now we could look at the raster and we could see that it is 300 by 221. And then we can go to our cube, which I'm going to rename as cube for Akrich Roblox. All right, so we can take that cube and go back to here and take the dimensions of 300 and 221 and put 300 by 221. Now it covers it. Let's make this bigger in Z, just because we want to make sure that the DEM fits in there. We can always make it smaller later. And let's move this up so that it's sitting on the bottom of the world. So bang. All right. Now, when we hide this and then unhide it, we know that we're covering that. So we've got this, and we got that reference map. So far, so good. Let me save this file as, I'll call this the Akrich cube for Roblox. All right. So now that we have this, we can go into edit mode and select just this surface. And we can subdivide this surface by right-clicking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Can I get away with 9? 9 really gobs things up. All right. So it's got all those tiny little mesh things in it. So let's hope that that is sufficient for this. Having done that, and I hope that I'm not going to mess this up, I will go back to object mode, except if I do a displacement here, and I tell it that I want to use for the displacement, eeks, that was bad. So texture, oh yeah, well, we need to create new texture, and then we need to go down to texture, and we need to open up the DEM that we had. And then with that DEM as a modifier, yeah, that's really messed up. So that's not working, even though that texture is the texture. And we have to figure that one out because we're using a cube, and that's rather awkward. So it's time to put this on pause, and then we're going to ask ChatGPT and figure this out. Oh, shoot. Still recording? You are still recording. Why aren't you telling me you're recording? That's weird. All right, so we put this on pause. Now, the first thing I'm going to try, because before I start looking into all this, I realized is I'm going to hide this cube. I'm going to take out that modifier, by the way. Goodbye. I'm going to hide the cube. with H, and I'm going to bring in a plane and just see if the plane does anything. Now, once again, click on this, and we have 300 by 221 meters. So we'll go to the plane, and we'll call this plane for Akrich Roblox. And then I'm going to go 300 by 221. So now we have a plane, and that plane we can add the modifier to. Go to a displacement. Just make sure it's working there, but of course we haven't yet subdivided it. So we're going to go to edit mode, subdivide 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then go back to object mode and say that we want to use that same texture. And where did it go? So if I displace, it's not doing much, but it's not doing much because we're on such a tiny plane. So look at that and see that if we now turn off the, or maybe not turn off, let's just raise this up. We are seeing displacement. So we're seeing elevation displacements, and how they map on should be somewhat interesting. So let's also bring the strength. Oh, the medium strength isn't going on. Let's do the XYZ Euler and really try to exaggerate that so that we can really begin to see information. And it does look like if we really exaggerate this and bring it up into there, it does look like there's a slope going downhill that way. And that is consistent with what we know from reality. Now, how to see that in relation to the map, to see if we can ground truth it, we have to the strength. Putting the strength as far up, but I want to do this by going to material and adding to this an image texture, which we would get from this. So let me hide this one for a second. Oh, not you. Hide you. This image texture is what we want to use, but we don't want it from the plane. So when you select this and you go to UV editing and then select everything there, you get the image that's there, and then you go save as. Wait, before I do that, you do select all of that. That's using the AL Pulsar Google X satellite image. I just want to make sure that I have another copy of it. So there's a ping, and I'll call this UV ping, so I know it's different than the original. I'm not sure which one we'd have to use, but that way when we come into here and we can even hide this and go to this plane, then we should be able to pick an image texture. Oh, maybe it's already there. No, it's not there. Pick that image texture, and that's the UV ping. That should have shown up. So I'm a bit mystified here. Why is it not showing up on this plane? Pausing for a moment. So this is really weird. It did come in when I look at it as a solid mode, but when I go here, I don't see it at all. And when I go here, I don't see it at all. And maybe that is because it hasn't yet been used. Like, look at that. That's weird. That's absolutely crazy when you go to the cemetery satellite image. Choose image to assign this user. That's the satellite. There's the DEM, and there's the render result. And the render there comes in, but it doesn't come in under there or there. And maybe it's because the DEM is not yet placed. What I wanted to see, of course, is whether or not this plane shows that elevation. And it is just showing up as a flat plane. So that's definitely confusing. There's the real image. There's the plane that we did. And here is the DEM displacement on here. But it's maybe because the XYZ Euler has kind of disappeared, isn't it? Geoscene. Geo coordinates. Something's weird. Georeferencing. Because we had before, we had a ability to control the XYZ Euler. And now we're not seeing any way to control that. Maybe because we've chosen a render result. If we choose this, then it's like super crazy, and we have got to change that. So if we go to displacement, it's super big. So let's zoom in on that. We can zoom on that. That is so ugly. So interesting, fascinating when we use that texture for displacement. And where was our Euler that we had? So maybe I need to back up a little bit and Control Z out of all this and see where we were when we were looking at it. Displacement. Yeah, so I'm actually going to get rid of that displacement modifier. And there's the original here somewhere. We click on this, there's the original down there. This one here appears way too high now. Let me delete it and let me go back and try this procedure again. So we had said, hey, I want to add a plane. And I want to make that plane, which I'm calling plane for Akrich Roblox. I would like to make that plane 300. Oops, the dimensions have disappeared. No, in item. Maybe that was my mistake. Let's try this again. Make it by 300 by 221. So now I have a plane there, and I can move that up. There it is. All right, and then I was saying to that plane that I wanted to put on a modifier, which was a displacement modifier, and that I wanted to use texture, which came from the DEM. And then I wanted to work that in, but I don't see any displacement showing up at all. Oh, because I didn't subdivide. So you go into edit and you subdivide once, twice, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe 9 times. And since we've now subdivided, we should begin to see some, when we get back to object mode, we should see some distortions in here, which are based on the DEM. But as as much as we do it, nothing's happened. So let me take that out. Goodbye modifier. Go back to edit mode. We have a lot of displacement there. We're going to add the displacement modifier once we get out of edit mode, of course. Ooh, okay. Let's look at it as a wireframe. All right. We are going to add the displacement modifier. We're going to say new. We're going to go here, and we're going to pick the DEM PNG as the displacement modifier. Right. And then go back here, and then we're saying, all right, you are going to be modified. Yeah, now we're getting our terrain feature stuff in. We've gone all the way up to 100, which is as far as we can go. And if we wanted to make it more pronounced, we would go to the dimensions, and not the dimensions in Z, is it the scale in Z? No, that's the only one. So that can be taken back to where it was. We're going to go to the dimensions in Z and make it deeper. It won't even let me make it deeper, right? It won't let me make it deeper. But we see a step sort of gradation. I wish it would let me make these deeper. Maybe it needs to be, oh yeah, it needs to be, you can't be at 100 for that. So I'll go from there and I'll make the dimensions and then I'll keep zooming in on it. That gives us an obvious terrain which seems to step down below the line. So it's up here and it eventually steps and steps and steps until it's the lowest there. All right. So if I bring that up, the low point seems to be going downhill that way. And that means that people who are standing, they'd walk down the staircase, because apparently there's a staircase here, and you can kind of see that that is the case. The staircase does go down. So this is ground truthing a little better now. I'm really trying to exaggerate it so that we can see that. See, it does go down substantially there. Now, it would be nice, and let me save this. Save as Akrich Cube for Roblox. So we're still in Akrich Cube for Roblox. All right. I want to be able to map onto that, and I'm going to apply the displacement. I may regret this, but I'm going to apply it. Now I want to go to Materials and add a modifier, and the modifier is supposed to be the image, which is saved under the exports as a satellite UV. There it is. All right. So now, while I can hide this, the original, now you can see that there is a downslope situation occurring here when we look at it. But is it really going to be useful to make this drop? Well, the satellite image, even at 12.5 meters, is not really capturing what's going on, except in these big blocks. So we still are going to have to do something about it. So it's not like the staircase begins here and then drops down to there. But this is the suggestion of this. So it is useful as a heuristic. And then we can work on our data there. The reason we know that this is the way that it works is because if we go to the video that the High Atlas Foundation has, so if we go High Atlas Foundation Akrich, and we look at, for example, this, you see that right there that it does go down, right? And here you can see that when he's standing there and looking down, there is a slope. It also shows up here. So there, looking down from that greenhouse to the first building, you're definitely looking down quite a jump. And that is what we're seeing. That's the greenhouse is apparently this greenhouse that he's standing looking down toward the building, but it's actually this building here, not this one here, that is downslope if you look at the video, which is here. So there is a downslope to that, but actually look at that. This first building is more elevated than the next building and the next. So we're really looking at, he's looking down here, then there's a wall, then there's grass here, then there's this building, then it goes down. So the DEM is useful in that regard, but it's still going to have to be faked because we can't work with something that is as jagged as this. But I think it does tell you for ground truthing that there's information that you have to consider in building the model. It's certainly not flat. You can see here too. The olive trees there. We need to put in. This is looking down that area. There's greenhouse structure there.
البيبينير ديال أكريش اللي كاين في جماعة ديال تمصلح اللي تبارك الله كاين فيه تقريبا أكثر من 35,000 ديال الشجر اللي فيه الرمان فيه الكرم وفيه وهنايا جبنا بعض الأنواع الأخرى ديال الزيتون جبنا وتقريبا أكثر من الزعور والمؤسسات التعليمية بالنسبة للشجر يعني حتى للورث باش نعاونوا باش يديروا.
That's not giving you much more of a view from there. We have this.
Hello everyone, my name is Josef Bedner and I'm president of the Highlands Foundation and a visiting professor at the University of Virginia. We are standing in the Marrakesh region of the Kingdom of Morocco in the Tamsalt municipality. There we have the village of Ashbaba, and here is a 700-year-old Jewish cemetery called Akrich. Now, this talk with the Middle East Studies Association is about pluralistic tree planting that is occurring in this nation. What does that mean? Why is it important? In Morocco, 70% of agricultural land generates 10 to 15% of agricultural revenue. What people are growing in traditional ways is barley and corn. And the nation has to import more than 50% of these staples. There was a time where it was viable for the people to grow barley and corn for sustenance reasons. But now, where most rural poverty is concentrated with farming families, they need to transition from that traditional approach of growing those staples to the far more lucrative fruit trees and medicinal plants. Fortunately, in Morocco, there are 14 varieties of fruit that grow organically. There are 10 varieties of the subspecies of fig that are endemic to Morocco. There's an endemic variety of date, of carob, of pear, apple. There are dozens of medicinal plants that grow wild in Morocco, including sage, thyme, oregano, capers. And so, as farmers transition from barley and corn to fruit trees, they need land in order to build their nurseries. They can't forego their barley and corn because they need to harvest and have sustenance every year. And for a nursery, for a seed to grow into a sapling in a nursery, it takes 1 to 2 years. So that gift of land enables them to make the transition from growing the staples to fruit trees. Now, where can farming communities of the nation receive land without cost? Well, the Highlands Foundation receives land from the Moroccan government, from the National Agency of Waters and Forests, from public schools that have land next that is unused, that's part of their
that was the highway,
the
that
public
was the
school
car there.
domain area. But
Right, so look at that.
land without cost.
There's that
Well,
car,
the highest
and that's elevated above him. So when we look here, the road, the main road, is up here that the car was passing. That was the main road there, and of course this DEM acts like there's a mountain in the middle of the road, so that would have to be all smoothed over. But it is elevated, as you can tell, because he's walking on this path down here toward that. So that is good to know. We're sort of like watching him walk this way. Let's see more.
Foundation receives land from the Moroccan government, from the National Agency of Waters and Forests, from public schools that have land next that is unused, that's part of the public school domain area, but also the Highest Foundation receives land from the Moroccan Jewish community.
There, and it all
This
goes
very
down.
location has land inside of it that is unused. And there are 600 of such saints, Hebrew saints, buried in Morocco. And so the Moroccan Jewish community is saying, look, we have these sacred grounds, but next to them, there are these empty spaces where farming families, communities can plant their nurseries. This example, where we're going to enter, is the 12-year-old nursery that is the pilot in the country. Right now, as we'll see, it generates 46,000 trees a year, mostly carob, but also fig and pomegranate. Now, this successful pilot inspired other nurseries. And now, the second nursery, which is in the Ouarzazate province, on the other side of those mountains, the highest mountain range is right there. The tallest peaks in North Africa are there. On the south side of those mountains is the Moroccan government funded a tree nursery built for the farming families of that region, built on...
So let's go to here. We need to get this picture. This is going to be a crucial reference picture for our model. Let's grab that. Actually, grab it. Now, when you think about it, we don't even want the sky. We want even less. We want this. All right. So this is going to be a reference image. This is the Akrich Cemetery Gate reference image. Go with that.
A tree nursery built for the farming families of that region, built on land lent without cost by the Moroccan Jewish community.
That door is great.
Come in.
That nursery.
He also manages the nursery. The responsibility to manage this area has been in his family for almost 100 years. This basin was built, 50% was paid by the Moroccan Jewish community, 50% by the Highest Foundation.
There's a fountain there.
That was provided by a consortium of Moroccan companies dedicated to renewable energy called Fenelec. Okay, so in this greenhouse, there are 7,500 carob saplings. Now, carob...
So I definitely was doing this wrong in my Roblox studio. This is fascinating because I didn't have this video at the time when I was making it. But check this out. You have this... my attempt to understand this location and build it without reference to this video led to some erroneous results. So he was walking down this road here and then he got to the wall there. So I'm going to have to redo the wall. I put an arched entrance there. That's not the way that it really works. And that's the greenhouse that he's gone to. This is apparently a pool of water, and when we were looking at it, we didn't know it was a pool. There it is. That's a water pool. Now that's certainly constructible in Roblox based on this information, because you can go and there's a Boolean that we can do, which is to take a part, and actually I can just duplicate this part. So this is called building unknown. I'll change the name of this to pool basin. And then I will duplicate the pool basin. And I'll call this the pool basin negative. And if I take the pool basin negative and I scale it down, it has to be uniformly scaled. So let me hit the shift key. No, I think it's the alt key. Yeah, the alt key. The alt key is going to try to uniformly scale down, although it didn't really, it's not too nice. What are we doing? Let's try shift. Nope, shift ain't doing it. Let's try control. Yeah, control ain't doing it either. So it is the alt key. Maybe I need to be in top view to see this correctly. Hold the alt key down. And it ain't perfect for some reason. But if we then move it over, and if we lift it up, now we have a Boolean object. that we can use to cut something out. So we take this and we say to it that we want it to be negative. And where do we find that? We find that usually in model, and then we have negate. So it turns a different color. And then if you take that negative part and then shift click on the major part, say union, then we've cut out what could be a pool. Now with that union, which we'll call pool, the size of it is now distorted, so we can try to shrink it down and then use the underlying satellite image to kind of show what would be underneath it, right? So that's the water that's in there, and that's pretty fun. So we go and publish this to Roblox, and so little by little we're going to ground truth this entire area using this video. So there's the pool. Now it's a different color than I thought. There's plants on it.
The responsibility to manage this area has been in his family for almost 100 years. This basin
That basin.
was built, 50% was paid by the American Jewish community, 50% by the Hyatt Foundation.
All right, so there's this basin. So we're focusing on this basin and the color of the basin, the material. The material should be, it's not brick. It is more of a plaster sandstone. If we did sandstone and then we made the color more of a Moroccan type color, it's not letting me change the color. That's unfortunate. So what to do there? Export the selection, duplicate, group as a model. One thing we can do is we can export this selection and call it, let me find our shapefiles for us. Call this object Akrich pool as an OBJ. All right. And now come into Blender and bring that into the landscape. So we're going to file import OBJ and find our shapefiles. Akrich pool. Oops, I used the wrong. The material instead of the OBJ. Do this again. Go to wavefront object and do the OBJ. And now there it is, but it's woefully tiny. So we really have to make it grow. Let me zoom in on it and see if there's anything even worth seeing. Yeah, there it is. That's the one with the sandstone. I don't mind the sandstone. The sandstone looks good, but it's definitely in the wrong location. In Z, it should be up at 0 meters. And I don't know about the X and the Y, and I don't know why it's not showing up. Part of it could be the view. We need to make our clip end at 100,000 or so, and then we can try it. But it's not showing up on the plane, which is way over there. Okay, see, that's there, and this ended up there, and that's not good. So let's see if we can move it. Oops, not that. We just want to move the pool, and only the pool. Oops, it's still moving everything. Oh, that is the pool. So where's our plane? This kind of stuff can drive you nuts. So I guess our pool is there, but it's there and it's not there. It's not like, oh, it's way over there. So what you have to do in a lot of cases is you've got to go to Object, Set Origin to Geometry, and then you should be able to move this to 0, 0. And we really got to keep things at 0, 0, or we're going to be totally messed up here. So now when we look at the plane is really tiny relative to this thing. So it didn't come in small, it came in super big. So now there's the pool. All right. Still needs to be made substantially tiny. And it's going to go over here. Mm-hmm. 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 So there's our little pool that we want. And it's, yeah, I'm going to map to like that. Now, in terms of the color, since we couldn't get the color properly mapped, here we have the capability of going into materials and changing this pool material. So maybe I want to add a material on top of this, bring this down, make a new material, and make this a color that is more conducive to the area. The picker, I don't think the picker works outside of Blender, so we're going to have to use like that material and call this pool material color. Or we could take this and we would, no, I mean you can do a tinting thing here somewhere. Coat, theme, specular, volume displacement. Yeah, I'm not gonna probably do well with that. So if I apply this color to this material, or just take out this entirely, we have that. Let me see if I don't take it out. Yeah, it doesn't show up in there. And there's got to be a way to blend them and to tint them, but I don't have that yet. So I'll just take this out, and that gives me a color that is more like the video. And having this color now, I can go into my Roblox, log into Roblox, and Akrich Pool I will want to upload. And once I've uploaded it, I should be able to go into here. I'm not going to need this one that I made here anymore, so I can delete that. I should be able to go into my tool, my packages, see my models, and then there's my packages. And Akrich Pool should show up as a wall. Sometimes it takes a little while to show up. There it is, Akrich Pool. It's there. All right, so let's drop that in. It comes in tiny. And it comes in, I thought it was going to let me color it, but it won't. Possibly, why? So let me rotate this. And it's got this really weird center again, which drives me nuts. So you can go to Edit Pivot Point and move the pivot point right onto this, and then rotate. I guess it's this way. And that angle thing is because we have rotate in increments of 45 degrees. So you'll want to check that off. And now scale it uniformly. Scale it uniformly. All right, now I should be able to change the color. Yes, and change the material. Yes, and now I can make it a little bit bigger to cover that. And then move it down so we can see some of the water. Excellent. And then you've got to go here where it's broken, and you've got to say to publish the package. That makes it talk to Blender again. So now we have that pool. Obviously this, in reality, this part of the model is not, why isn't it letting me select that? It must be locked. So there's a lock. Unlock this and select it. Then it should have a color that can be changed. So it looks like it's a whitish color in the video. And then I can relock it. So we're getting a bit closer. It ain't great yet. There are some bushes that you saw on top of this. So if we Control D, reselect that bush, you could put a bush here and then scale it down. Maybe even smaller. Right. It's got that snapping on. Yeah. And it looks like there's 4 of these pushes, so Control D. I mean, if we're stylizing, we're idealizing. Control D, put that one over there. All right, so that our little guy, let's publish this to Roblox. And let's go and play. Our little guy goes in here, and he goes through a wrong gate, but now he's standing by the pool over here. And if we go back to the video, he's standing by the pool over there. I guess there's more plants.
That is provided by a consortium of Moroccan companies dedicated to renewable energy called Fenelec. Okay, so in this...
So we're gonna obviously need to modify the greenhouse here as well. And all that should be done in Blender because this is not as easy to do. There should be a way to fill this with water in Roblox, and I think in there you put in a, is it a terrain? There's a terrain editor thing. We have to hit stop here, and actually this thing was up here, sort of. There's a way to get water in Roblox in these things, and it involves going to the terrain editor and creating a terrain, which I have to generate, edit, draw. So if I draw, oh no, I didn't want to do that. Let's see. I'd have to pick water. There's ice. That's water, yeah. And then I would have to, it's not draw water on anything because it has to fill with water. There's no fill that I can do there. You have to select something and transform something. And I don't know, I'm gonna have to look that up because there's a way to add actual liquid water that Robloxians can play. And I'm not really that familiar with it. Oh, there it is. So there's some water, but it's not staying in the bounds. Okay. Maybe it's about making the brush size really small, the pivot position being at the bottom, the snapping to voxels maybe, and then plane lock, ignore water, brush mode is add, maybe come in a square, but it's not, snapping should be off then. No, it was working a second ago, wasn't it? Paint, maybe we paint it. Nope, it's not working. Pivot position, snapping off, plane lock off. Oh, pick water. Still not doing it. Draw water. Wrong water. Brush size. It's too small. Look at the size of that brush. Look how huge that is. Yeah, it's a mess. But there is a way to do it, obviously. We make this smaller. It just isn't. It ain't easy. I've always hated this because I don't really understand it. I'm trying to draw water and it's not letting me draw water, and only if I make it big, then it draws. No, it's not that. It's the most weird thing in the world to add water. We had it, and now we don't have it anymore. All right, well, somebody knows how to do it. Somebody's going to figure it out, and it's just not going to be me, because I don't understand the terrain editor to save my life. It just defies my logic. Probably it's dry. Oh, look at that. I did water underneath the land here, so I didn't create any terrain up in here, and that's what I don't really understand. I don't understand how, because I'm selecting that terrain and making it all water, and I didn't mean to. Even in create, if you try to create generate, you'd have to generate a biome, and we don't want that. It's like way too large. I mean, even if I made the biome, I don't know, 0.5, and I just wanted it to be water. I don't know. We'll find out. A lot of this is, oh, that was scary. The floor is lava. All right, goodbye. Cancel. And undo. All right, so there's still a lot to learn here, but I think we're getting closer to being able to make our model, and we're going to have to obviously make this wall open up over here with a square gate, and then we need the thing to go downhill. That's going to be really hard with a map that has not been generated with displacement, because this is a flat plane. What I was hoping to do was to come into Blender and do this whole procedure not on a plane, which doesn't have an even bottom, but on a cube. That was the original intent. So I made this cube here, and I wanted to be able to come to this cube and add my displacement modifier to only the surface of the cube. And it was not working, as you saw earlier. So even though the cube has a surface that could be displaced, it ain't happening. Now maybe I have to do this separately and just join it to the cube. But I thought maybe it could be done better than that. Let's just pause and ask ChatGPT. All right, so hey chat, I am trying to follow up on last night's conversation in the car when you described how I might use a cube with a top surface subdivided to put my displacement layer, the modifier, based on the DEM at 12.5 meters, so the bottom of the cube can rest on the base in Roblox Studio. But I don't see how to displace just the top surface if I have to do my displacement in object mode. And let's see what it comes up with. The smart To apply this just to the top of your subdivided cube, you need 2 extra steps. Only the surface vector. Subdivide the top surface only. Okay, we did that. And then separate the top face as a new object, optional. Okay, separate it. Well, I've already sort of done that. Top face selected. Add the displacement modifier. Create and assign a group that includes only the top vertices to ensure the top face. Configure it. Select the texture option. Okay, ensure the top face is displaced. Final adjustments. So exit and go into the original cube. Go to the modifier panels under vertex group. I want to try that. That sounds interesting. So if I'm in object mode, and how am I getting all that right? I'm in object mode and I add a displacement modifier. Well, first of all, why not, if I'm here, so if I'm on this, why not add a material which is already the raster material? And see, oh, that didn't look good. Mapped it onto the entire cube, and we don't want that. Displacement. I've never seen that before. Linear flat projection is flat. Color space alpha. I want it to just go onto the top. Again, that's rather interesting because I'm just going to try the displacement method first. The suggestion was that we could add a displacement modifier. And that would just affect the vertex group would be the top. But we don't have a vertex group. So I need to go in here. How do I make that a vertex group? So I need to make this the vertex group. But I don't know how. So I need to ask chat again. How do I make the top surface of the cube a vertex group if I want to do this without separating the surface? And it tells us create a vertex group for the top surface. Enter edit mode, select it by clicking on face select mode, switch to vertex selection mode. Create a vertex group, go to object data properties. So if I'm in here and I tell it to let me just do that, that's very interesting because we have a much more, we got a whole vertex group there. It's all, whoa, no, we just want the top. If I select everything in that and I say, whoops, shift, control click, nope, don't want to do that. So this is very weird. I don't even want that in there. I just want this top surface, and maybe I have to go in and select it like that. Yes, there it is. All right, so I've selected the top surface, and it says go to object data properties, green triangle. Object data properties, green triangle. It could be this. So I go there, okay, those are the object vertex groups, and then, I'm learning something new today. Click on the plus and call it top surface and assign to add these to the group. So vertex groups, and we'll call this top group top surface, and then assign these to the group. And then we can deselect and we can select. All right, top to surface. Now we are at this, and we have this group. We go here and we say that the vertex group will be group top surface only. It's a bit weird. We are going to then use the texture DEM, and it's all crazy. So that clearly is a fail. Even if we did just Z, it ain't giving us nothing of interest. If we did X, it's like that. If we did Y, it's like that. All right, so that clearly is not the way to go about it, and I'm going to abandon trying to go about it that way. But what I can do is I'm going to delete that cube. No, I didn't mean, I think I deleted everything and I didn't mean to. No, it's okay. I'm going to delete that cube. And I'm going to turn this into a cube. So once again, I will add a cube. And I will find the dimensions, which were 300 by 221. So I'll go to the cube, which is my new cube for Akrich Roblox. And taking that cube and saying it's going to be 300 by 221. And make it big enough that it fits whatever the entire thing is going to be. Alright, so we take that, and that cube is what's going to go into Roblox, but I'll make it smaller. I think I have about, oh no, I need to give it enough meters that it'll take the displacement. And then take my plane, and I'm going to move this down under the plane. So GZ right under the plane there. And then what you would do is you would save this first. You would take this plane and this cube, and we would join them as a single object. And that way, when we bring this into Roblox, we should have something we can build on. So I'm going to go here to, I really want to, I'm going to save this. I'm going to start a new file completely, just so I can try this out. And it is doesn't have any terrain on it, which is a pain. So I'm going to go and make a terrain, I guess. I'm going to generate a terrain that is just plains. That's what I'm going to do. And the biome size is going to be 100. I think that's the default. I've really got to figure out this terrain editor. It's growing. Alright. And it became lava. Like, I don't get that. Like, why on earth would you become lava? Who asked for lava? I didn't. So when you go to edit and you say, hey, dumbass, you were supposed to be ground there. It's not filling it at all. I hate terrain. Terrain just drives me nuts until one really understands it. I don't get it. So I don't get the whole thing there. So no, what I'll do then is I'm going to open from Roblox, or I'm going to start Studio all over again. No, I'm not going to save that. And no, I'm going to close that down. And I'm going to make Roblox Studio. And now, because I've opened it from Roblox Studio, I'll start with a flat terrain and let there be a terrain, but it's all grass. That's much nicer. Now I am going to take this and I'm going to go to Roblox, and I'm going to upload this. And it says it's uploading. We wait for it and we wait for it. Okay, that was a big mistake. It says it's uploaded, but it's way too huge, and I shouldn't have done that. So let me go to, so that geometry is crazy, and it never needs that amount of geometry. So you've got to add a decimate modifier and bring this way down, even though it's not that low. Oh, yikes. It's freezing up. So maybe 0.1. 0.1 I said. And let it do its calculations. It's a bit better. Let's go to 0.05. Because it doesn't need all those triangles. It really, really doesn't. Let's try 0.0025. That's better. Because we're still going to be dealing with this jaggedity. Now that we have it down there, let's apply the modifier. Be right there, Nye. Now apply it, and now go and let's upload it and update it. All right, let's see what happened. We've uploaded a new version of this, and if we then go to Roblox and go to my packages, maybe we need to do a refresh. So let's do my models, then my packages, and then cube for Akrich is here, and there it is, it came in. And so the advantage of doing that is that the cube sits flat on the landscape, even though we have displacement in the landscape here. And I will end up doing this again, but I wanted to show that this way, when we have our guy play, oops, okay, something went wrong there. Because his spawn point hasn't been put in. So where Dr. Ben Meyer was walking along here, we would put in a spawn point. So there you go to regular models, to the creator store, and you grab a spawn point and drop this one in here. And then you can see, of course, that this model is way too small. So that's never going to do. That's because you exported about 0.01 from things. So when we click here on that cube, there is a scale factor. And if we bring it up to 10 times, then it's going to jump up. So we're going to have to raise the, whoa, not you. I can bring that in there. Bring it up. Pane. All right. So we have that. We need to get to the spawn location. He was playing. He's been playing. He hasn't been on the TV. All right. So go to there.
I'm not super fan of Gabby Cat. You watch it in the morning. Why you haven't done much?
So that's where the spawn point would be. And then when we go in, we see, does this in fact seem...
Close the window there.
Because I had the air conditioning on.
So
that looks like... Okay. That 10 times looks appropriate for what we saw in the video. But as I say, I need him to run, obviously. This guy cannot be walking that slowly, so let's go to chat again and go, chat, can you give us a running script for Roblox player again? And wait for that. Really, this is an amazing new frontier, having this wonderful ally. So I'll copy that code from there, go to my starter player scripts, and I will insert an object, and that object will be a local script, which I will call running script. And then I will paste in what chat gave me, and I will change the speed. I don't know why it's red there. What's that red about? I will change the speed to 64. Oh, it's because we're in the middle of a game. So I want to keep those changes. So did it keep the change? That never existed before, that you could actually... Okay, so once again we need to insert an object, local script, call it running, script running, backwards on that. Get rid of the whole world, hello world, not necessary. Paste that in, change this to 64 rather. And we need to save to file. No, we're going to save it to Roblox. And when we hit play, it's supposed to let us hit shift and work, and it's not working. Why is that? Asset configuration, script running. Oh, because it isn't really saved. Choose one model. Discard all changes. But then script running, why is it on it again? So maybe I didn't copy it properly. Oh no, for sure I didn't. It's supposed to be all of this copy code, so I didn't even get the finish into it. So let's go back here and sorry, it didn't copy properly. That's the whole script. This is 64. And then we can close this. We can save this to Roblox. New team create. It's going to be a new game, and it's going to be called Akrich Nursery Digital Elevation Map. And we will save that. And we can keep updating this map, hopefully. So now when we hit play, our creature, oops, was supposed to spawn. All right, so when we hit play, our creature spawns, and now he can really run length. But look at how he comes to a cliff here, and he doesn't observe the contour. So even before we smooth the contour, we're dealing with somebody who's floating in space, and that is not what we want. Even when he gets to the other part where the highway is, it It's unlikely that he's going to be able to, he does go there, but the other way doesn't work. So it's doing some bizarreness with this, and the way that you fix that is to take your terrain and go down to the collisions, which is usually in the model. It's in here. By the way, package link should be auto update. And go to the cube for it, and then you should find collision. And the collision fidelity should be set to precise convex decomposition. Now we have to say OK, and it's going to break the link with Blender, so we have to say then publish to package. And now, supposedly, the collision surface is more reasonably created to the mesh so that he falls. Okay, so that's what we want, but as I mentioned, this is not the real way that the landscape or terrain goes. It's just suggestive that there is in fact a staircase going down there, and we're going to have to smooth this down slope, and that's going to be our next challenge. Coming back into here and smoothing. Now you do have shade smooth, but to do shade smooth and then shade smooth again, you still have these massive cliffs. And part of that is because I did the decimation. So if I wanted to go out of that, and I should do all my work and then decimate. So if we keep going out, do I have enough undos? There it is. All right, that's what we had. Of course, before we did a box, and in redo, I want to get to the point where we had joined these meshes. There we'd selected it, and there we had selected that, and there we had selected that, and there we had selected that, and there we had selected both of them, and then we'd made them a single object. All right, that's the point that we were at. And when you then go to this top surface and you shade smooth, and you know what, in fact, I'm thinking, hold on a second. I should do this before I join it to the cube, of course. So let's keep going. So there, this is now its own object before we joined it to it. And then if you do shade smooth, we can even start doing some sculpting so that we can go into the sculpt mode and work on not drawing, but smoothing.
You extend the edge on the side of the road, like big vendor.
Oh, it's selling Trump stuff? Yeah, I saw that.
And the t-shirt, like big.
You know, one of my friends,
Festival,
yeah, one of my friends wrote and said, I hope it's a going out of business sale, which was funny. So we're smoothing this landscape down, making these contours. That is what we're going to have to work on so that we can get a better terrain model. When you look at it with the terrain, it's just about continuously moving and modifying. We have this ability to sculpt the landscape, and that's what we're going to work at by changing strength, for example. And it's all stuff to play with, but at least then we have a much, like the road here has to actually be flattened. The roads aren't going to bump that much. But down here in the hills, it would smooth. And that way we can get down to a reasonable terrain down here. And we can elevate stuff, lift stuff up. Probably what I'm going to end up doing once I've figured this out is going to the video and seeing where the wall is over there, right? And trying to build up levels as it smooths down like that. That's how we will be able to do our landscape a little better. So we have a lot of watching to do, a lot of learning to do. Put these lights in, these bougainvillea, these plants, but we're getting somewhere. And I'm pleased that we now have a possible solution to make our Roblox game more faithful to the reality that we want. Just got to learn about these tools, and we'll get the. I mean, even now, let's just see. If I go out of sculpt mode and back into object mode, I can save this as. I'm going to save this as Akrich Cube for Roblox smoothed. That way I'm not going to overwrite the original file. And now that I'm in smoothed, I'm going to join these without saving. And so Control J. I'm going to upload it. It should be the same name for Akrich Roblox. So I want to upload that. And what's going to happen then is when I go back to this same Roblox, once it's uploaded, technically it should update. We should get rid of this jaggedness because the package link is set to auto update. I'm not sure that that's the case. It may not happen, and I may have to put it in again. But I'm going to look at my models, look at my packages, and let's see if it actually did the auto update. Oh, of course, I shouldn't have done that because this is the undecimated version. That's going to be so messy. Yikes. Okay, well, we just re-update it because here it's going to take forever to come in, and I'm always forgetting that this has got to be, it has to be simplified. Maybe I can simplify it as a cube. Maybe that's a good thing that happened. Because if I bring in the decimate modifier and I send this to 0.0025, maybe it'll work. So we have much better topography. And then upload this. Oh, I didn't apply the decimator, so oops. I should have applied it. So it says it uploaded it. Oh, we'll see, because that has much more decent geometry. And then we go to here, and it says Akrich what? Akrich Nursery plane for Akrich, cube for Akrich. That's the one we want. And that should have been put in there, so it didn't do it. There's this cube and there's this cube. I'm going to take this one out. Now I'm going to check this one. Hold on. I'm going to take this one and move it, scale it and move it onto the plane. But it did come in the right size maybe this time. Let's see. Is our spawn location... Spawn location is actually underground now. So we've got to move this. And the real question is, did this smooth as we had wanted? And it looks like it did not. That is not smooth. So I'm rather disturbed by this because you would think it would have smoothed the cube for Akrich, and it didn't. It's supposed to be automatic. It's supposed to be that if we send this up and we upload it, that it Oh, this is called plane for Akrich. That's why. Not cube. So I actually used the wrong thing. I've used cube for Akrich when it shouldn't be the cube. I want the plane for Akrich. And the plane is a cube now, or should be. So there's plane for Akrich. Yep, there it is. Plane for Akrich. And here the smoothing did happen somewhat reliably. Not yet. So once again, we're going to make this 10 times the scale. And we are going to take the spawn location once we've put this down on the ground. And we are moving around to here. Just takes a while to move it. We'll take that spawn location. Oh no, spawn location. That's the plane. Let's make sure that it is down on the terrain properly. All right, but this plane is a cube. That is what is unique about it. And so the cube has a flat base, you see, so it can sit down, and that's what is crucial for this. And then we can move the spawn location up and over to wherever we want to. All right. And now when we play, our character comes in and is running over the terrain, and we'll find a more gentle slope. But again, we have to make sure that we take this model and we set the collision fidelity to precise convex composition. We end up breaking the package link, which will have to be reestablished after we right-click on it and tell it to publish the package. And then our character should be able to run and follow the contour down. All right? So there are these possibilities then for getting a terrain into Roblox that lets the character look down as Dr. Ben Meyer is over the landscape and see the valley down below. It's just going to take more work, and we are going to get there. So thanks for watching if you've been watching. Bye-bye.